Folks, if there's one thing I've learned after following this family for the last 2 years, is that whenever a royal story is wrapped up in a neat little bow, it's usually worth checking what's underneath the ribbon. Last week, we were told that Kate quietly climbed Britain's 3 peaks in under 24 hours. Sounds amazing, except almost every detail of the story left me asking, wait a minute, how exactly did that happen? All of last week, it seemed the only story being reported was that of Kate Middleton's completion of the 3 Peaks Challenge, a grueling trek consisting of 3 of the highest mountains in Scotland, England, and Wales, covering 23 miles of hiking and over 10,000 feet of vertical ascent. The press reported on Sunday, June 28th, that Kate had completed the challenge solo in under 24 hours. Now, in order to understand the magnitude of this assertion, it's important to introduce some context here. The standard path for completing the trek in under 24 hours requires 474 miles of driving. The current record holder is this woman, Trish Patterson, the first person to complete the challenge unassisted in 5 days and 21 hours, which means that unless Kate Middleton is superhuman, she must have had some assistance. Nothing wrong with that. Then why did the press report it as a solo hike? Because everything Kate Middleton does in public must be tightly controlled and carefully staged in order to elicit maximum praise from the adoring public. But it is getting increasingly harder to find a public that isn't skeptical about her PR scams. Well, it didn't take long for reports of her incredible solo hike to be revised, this time acknowledging that she had been monitored and supported along the way by Britain's Mountain Rescue along with her brother James. But then videos began to surface which seemed to suggest that Kate was also accompanied by a camera crew. And now suddenly her quiet 3 Peaks hike didn't seem so quiet after all. According to the press, Kate wanted to give something back to the Marsden Clinic. You know, the same hospital that has no record of her ever having been a patient there. And how exactly was she given back? Was it by contributing some of her husband's vast unearned wealth? Oh no, Kate wanted to give back by hiking. Now she says this was all for charity, so I think it would be interesting to find out how much funds were actually raised. But unfortunately, the fundraiser does not have a public tracker. And given the obvious collusion between the Waleses and the Marsden Hospital, we probably will never find out how much was actually donated. Some of you might recall when Kate's shady relationship with the Marsden Clinic all began. 2 years ago, Kate supposedly sat on a bench in front of a very still background where she announced to the world that her prolonged absence was due to cancer being detected during her abdominal surgery and that she would be undergoing a course of preventative chemotherapy. But those of us who have been paying attention might recall when this headline appeared sometime in January of 2024, just when the public started noticing that she hadn't been seen in a while. No one seemed to question why the press was reporting that Kate was expressly not being treated for cancer. And folks, it was so strange because this was not a question anyone was asking. Was someone trying to get ahead of a story so elaborate and deceitful that its exposure would bring down the monarchy? Later that year, Kate released what Camilla called the shampoo commercial. Tells you how much she thinks of her. Where in a glossy, highly produced video, Kate was seen frolicking through the fields and meadows, announcing to the world that she was cancer-free. People forget that this all happened in the same year. At the time she released this video, never once did she mention the Marsden Clinic. It wasn't until January of 2025 when Kate popped up at this hospital with full press entourage, where she marched triumphantly through the halls with workers looking on, perplexed, and where she claimed she had been going there all along. The hospital's CEO was then interviewed, where she nodded vigorously but said nothing, smart woman, when this journalist insisted that no one saw her because she had been sneaking in through the back door in order to protect her privacy. This was during the same visit when Kate famously dispensed advice that typical cancer patients should probably not follow, where she stated that she was quickly cured by an abundance of sunlight. Social media users were quick to point out that chemotherapy causes photosensitivity, and therefore excessive sunlight can actually be harmful. Then she found an actual cancer patient where she tearfully mumbled about her missing chemotherapy port because, according to her, it brought her so much comfort, and where she told a dying man that she received just a small taste of what he was going through. But the biggest tell was in Christopher Anderson's book, approved by the palace, by the way, where he admits that the Marsden Clinic, it turns out that they actually have no evidence of her ever having been a patient there. The explanation? To protect her privacy again. And I'm detecting a pattern here, folks. Whenever Kate Middleton has something to hide, suddenly her privacy is of the utmost importance. Kate loves attention. There's nothing she loves more than to be fluffed up by the press. And for someone who is always using her cancer recovery as an excuse for doing so little, you would think that she would have been happy to let the press see her attending her chemo sessions. Just imagine the sympathy that would have been garnered from the public, unless it never happened. Now, you might remember just a few weeks ago, this story came out of nowhere, and it's a story that began a couple of years ago. According to reports, a healthcare worker, reportedly a nurse, had breached Kate's medical files for the purpose of selling it for financial gain. According to the ICO, an independent watchdog group, a formal caution was deemed sufficient with the nurse's employment terminated and his or her nursing license being struck off. The identity of the nurse has never been revealed. And now I'm starting to think that this story was a setup for the Marsden story, in order to explain why the hospital has no record of her ever having been a patient there. They can simply point back to this and say, well, see, we have no record of her being a patient here because someone tried to steal her records while she was at the London clinic, where, by the way, no one actually saw her enter or leave. It's all too convenient, and it's exactly the kind of deceit and elaborate manipulation that we have come to expect from Kensington Palace. Which brings me back to the Three Peaks. Now, this video shows Kate meeting with a young wheelchair-bound boy, apparently on at least 2 separate occasions. But there's something strange about this video. Something about it has an uncanny feel to it. Here we see Kate chatting with a group of climbers before bounding up the hill, and netizens could not help but notice that Kate seemed to be, let's say, a little healthier than usual. The girl in this video looks to be a full 2 sizes larger than Kate, which is saying something because this girl is already quite thin. This was followed by another video which, and I'm going to be honest with you folks, I found to be downright frightening. The byline said that Kate stopped to chat with a disabled child, and I kid you not, when I first saw this image, for a split second, I thought that this was a disabled child, only to find out that it was actually Kate. Folks, what is this? She looks like she could barely stand on her own without the aid of her hiking sticks. How can anyone look at this and not see a problem here? It looks like she's about to collapse. Is there some kind of exercise bulimia going on here? I think there is. Out of all the images we've seen of Kate on this hike, this one looks closer to the truth. Now here's the thing we have come to expect from Kensington Palace. We can never tell what is real and what isn't anymore. For the past 2 years, the internet has been flooded with AI videos of William and Kate being loving toward each other. That alone tells you they're fake. Anyone with a functioning brain can clearly see that they are not real. A few days ago, Jack Royston from Newsweek published this article that hasn't gotten a whole lot of attention, where he states that William and Kate are winning the AI battle against the Sussexes? What? The AI battle? What AI battle? So what that tells me is that many of these AI slop videos you see flooding the internet are coming from none other than Kensington Palace. I want you to recall 2 years ago, during the infamous Mother's Day photo incident, and I won't bother to go over the details too much. I've already discussed it ad nauseum in several of my past videos. Kate Middleton was reported to have made this statement. And now I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, is this just a progression of her experimenting? Except now she's graduated from Photoshop to AI. Now, apart from the obvious size difference, there are other things in this video suggesting its inauthenticity. Now, if you want to know a dead giveaway for an AI video, look for sudden edits or jump cuts. A natural candid video of a celebrity found to be hiking in the mountain would not be edited. It would be a smooth, continuous motion. Because why would you edit a spontaneous celebrity sighting? And whose video is this anyway? Another dead giveaway is the speed. AI tends to speed things up. Now that doesn't mean it's all fake. Perhaps the most effective use of AI for the purpose of creating likenesses of actual people is to upload real images and then have the AI render it. Many would call this AI enhanced, meaning its reference is from a genuine image. That's why we can look at a video like this and it sort of looks like Kate until you realize, shockingly enough, that Kate is much thinner than this, which means that even the AI took one look at her and said, nah, this doesn't look right. No way that's real. And then proceeded to add on a couple of pounds. Because these images put together do not look like the same person. Some people have even said it's a body double. But nah, I don't think they have much use for body doubles anymore. Not when they can get much better results from AI. I think Kensington Palace has been using AI far more often than we realize. I mean, if you can get your AI clone to clock in as a work engagement, then why not? Which begs the question, if Kate is well enough to climb 3 of the tallest mountains in Scotland, England, and Wales in under 24 hours, then surely she's fully recovered from her mysterious cancer diagnosis and may resume a normal work schedule. Well, lo and behold, it turns out that during the dates of the hike, Kate logged it in as 2 separate official engagements. She logged this in as a work engagement, which means that you, the British taxpayer, picked up the tab. And so now I'm starting to wonder if this wasn't just another one of her holidays dressed up to look like a grand cause. Was this an actual planned charity event? Or was she simply caught vacationing again? Amid all the brouhaha, about her amazing solo accomplishment, where they left out the fact that she was trailed by a camera crew and assisted by helicopter, a hiker happened to also be on the mountain doing the challenge when he came upon none other than the Princess of Wales herself, and he did what anyone would do when they spot a famous person in the wild. He took out his cell phone and began recording. And there was Kate, being assisted by her brother James, descending the peak. Not even a day later, however, this poor man had to make a public apology for publishing his own video in a public space where he just happened to see Kate, and he was pressured into handing over the footage to Kensington Palace and issuing an apology. Just incredible. The poor guy probably isn't even clued in to any of this royal drama, and here he is being gaslit, thinking he did something wrong, all because Kate wants to tightly control her image. She had to have that footage. Why didn't she demand this footage? And do you know why she had to have this footage, folks? Because of this. A weird-looking protrusion in front of her shorts. And God knows what it is. Probably a microphone wire or something, who knows? But it looked embarrassing and unflattering for obvious reasons. And so this poor hapless man was pressured into giving up his own personal video to please the Princess of Wales. But don't expect anyone to ever accuse her of narcissism. Oh, no. Kate is so self-important. No one questions why she needs a 150-acre security buffer zone for her Forest Lodge home, or camera crews following her around, all courtesy of the British taxpayer. Here she is today, introducing herself to a small child in a hospital, not simply as Catherine, but reminding the child that she's Princess of Wales. And speaking of microphones, in her very private and quietly done hike of the Three Peaks, social media users noticed that Kate had what appeared to be a microphone clipped to her jacket. And so the next logical question is, if this was meant to be a quiet hike, done out of the public eye, reported after the fact, why does it look like Kate is filming some sort of reality show-style documentary about her heroic Three Peaks challenge? This is after it was reported that Kate and William were afraid that the Sussexes may arrive with a Netflix crew. Folks, when it comes to William and Kate, every accusation is a projection, except in their case, it's also a burning desire. William and Kate would kill to have an offer from Netflix, but in the meantime, Kate will walk around wearing concealed microphones, with cameramen following her around in order to capture her private moments. Gee, these private moments sure do look staged, don't they? Here we have the entire Middleton clan, sans Pippa, and it's very telling that Pippa is absent. Kate was seen today in a bizarre clip where she sat with a former tennis star, Tim Henman, and where, according to the press, she was overheard making remarks about her grueling Three Peaks challenge. Overheard? Except she was hooked up with a microphone. You may probably have forgotten last year, when Kate announced a series of videos about nature she planned to do. The project wasn't well received, with even members of the press asking loudly, what was the point? By the end of the year, it seemed that even she herself had become bored with the project, and I'm not even sure if anyone remembers it anymore. This is looking more and more like Kate's latest attempt at dabbling into the world of content creation, which makes the claim that it's about raising money for charity all the more suspect. Why did it take her 2 whole years after announcing she was cancer-free to decide now to set up a charity? Because, of course, the Sussexes. Okay, I'm gonna stop here because the Sussex visit definitely deserves its own video. If you found this video to be entertaining and informative, please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and hype the video. It really helps small creators like me. And I just gotta say one more thing. I have seen some absolutely ridiculous dog shit AI channels out there just making stuff up and saying absolutely nothing. You may have come across some of them, and they're getting like millions of views. And so now I'm wondering, like, what am I doing wrong? Do people not want the truth? But rest assured, I'm going to continue to put out quality content as best as I can. Besides, I'd feel so stupid doing one of those videos. Anyway, leave your comments below. I read all of them, and I'll catch you all in the next one.